Hi, welcome to Jumpsuiters, a podcast where we explore multi-dimensional topics in a practical 3D reality sort of way. I'm here with my friend Yvonne, who is a channeler.
Hi.
It's always weird to know how to start. Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. Okay, so you've channeled for me before, and I've heard your story a little bit, but I would just love to just kind of hop into a little bit. Wherever you want to start. You want to give more background on life before channeling and how it kind of like came to you?
Yeah.
Just kind of feeling into it, but...
Okay, so I like telling this story. So it started in around March of 2020. Well, maybe just before, a little bit before, because the lockdown had not happened yet. I think it was maybe March, like the beginning of March, okay? I was meditating. I liked to meditate. I'm an acupuncturist, so there's that, an energy worker. And in between clients, I liked to meditate. So I would just give myself a little time to chill out, meditate. And one day during this meditation, I started to feel like a desire to speak something that wasn't me. And so I started trying to vocalize it, and it was very slurred, and it was very long, and it was very it felt like we weren't synced up yet. It was almost like whoever was trying to speak through me and my voice weren't yet synced up. So the words were, very long. And so that happened, maybe let's say 2 or 3 times. And then...
Can I ask you a question real quick? How did you know it was something else and not you? Was it,
I know. I don't even know how I would articulate that.
Just an intuitive
I just knew
knowing?
that it wasn't me.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say except that I just knew.
I get it. Yeah.
So the third time it happened, we started syncing up better. Like it started rolling, like the words were coming a little faster. And I still don't know who this being was, but they told me one thing. They said it's time to learn the Akashic records. And I was like, I don't even really know what those are. What is that, to myself? And so that night I went on a walk with Ramona, who's my partner. And I said, do you know anything about the Akashic Records? And she said, yeah, I actually bought a book like a month ago. It's sitting on the nightstand. It's been there for like a month. I just haven't started it yet.
Love that.
Yeah. And we both have books that are like on our nightstands that just kind of collect, right? So I never noticed it. So I picked it up. I was like, great, it's already here. So I opened it up. It's an easy read. It's a book by Linda Howe. I finished it maybe like in a day and a half. And then there's an opening prayer inside that book, and I tried it. So I tried it for myself first, which was kind of like, I don't know, am I making this up? The stuff, the information I'm getting. It's really hard, I think, when you're really close to yourself. And so I was like, am I just like having the thoughts that I want to say and come through? So then I thought, I'll open the records for my cat. So baby cat, we adopted just like a few months before this happened. And I wanted to find out a little more like about his life before we found him. And some stuff came through for baby cat. But again, it wasn't like baby cat could be like, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're still wondering how much of this is me making it up or imagining or really happening. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So that's when I decided to practice with what ended up being 25 friends over the course of a month. And every single person was like blown away by the information that came through and was very absolutely felt loved and supported. And, many of them cried during their readings. Many of them said, I've never told anybody that, like internal narratives that people have around a circumstance or an aspect of their life that they've never shared out loud with anyone. That would come through. So it was really cool that this was somehow just something that came easy to me. I don't know why. I don't know who the being that I channeled that first time was. So that's how I started channeling the Akashic Records.
And real quick before you move on, for anyone who has never heard of the Akashic Records, or maybe have heard the word but they haven't looked into it yet, talk about what those are. Give some context. Yeah.
So the Akashic Records are, let's say, like a field of information, or it's like a field of information. I kind of think of like the iCloud that holds a bunch of memory, right? It's basically holding the memory of your soul. So the Akashic Records hold all information about every experience your soul has ever had. Every lesson, every thought, every experience, every lifetime. And so it's kind of like a library that you can walk into, grab a book, and find out information about yourself.
Or others with their consent?
Yes, you have to have consent. Nobody can go into your records without your consent. And they're very protected. So if somebody says, I went into your records and I changed it. No, they can't. They can't do that. No one can do that. What was I going to say though? There was something I was going to say.
Hey, Nicole, pull your mic a little closer. Just you.
The records. Like
I think you're just continuing to tell your story. So you had met with 25 friends.
Yeah. So going into the records. So they're basically like a library that you can go into and get information, either on a past life or anything that you're experiencing here. Anything around career, life, health, relationship, love. And it's just really special and beautiful space that's very supportive, very loving, and healing. Like you feel good in your records.
Nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned that they're really protected.
They're very
Who's
protected.
protecting them?
I don't know exactly. There's what's called the Lords of the Records. I don't know exactly. Like I haven't actually gone in to ask more information about that. That's just what Linda Howe's book says, that there's the Lords of the Records. Your guides are protecting them, I'm sure. That'd
be fun to ask sometime.
I should look into that.
Okay. So hop back into your story.
Okay. So all right, so I was playing with the records, felt really great doing that. And then that happened in March. In June of 2020, there were 3 nights in a row that I woke up to a voice, and which I thought was a voice in my head, like just talking to me, or like, I don't know. I thought I was just having an active mind. It woke me up. There's a specific time. I'm really bad with remembering things, but there's a specific time that it woke me up each night. And by the third night, I was like, this isn't me. Like, I don't think this is me. And so I started talking back to it. And then the voice started talking back to me and answering me. The thing that made it confusing was that it was like my voice in my mind, but it wasn't me talking to myself. So that's what kind of was like, threw me off. But that third night, they asked me to go channel for the first time, that there was a channeled message. And because I had channeled that first being, and I was channeling the records, I was kind of, okay, I feel like I could probably do this. So I got up and went to the living room in the dark and just put my phone on the voice memo and did my first channeled message there. And that was from the Arcturians. And that was a beautiful message. And if anyone wants to see that, that's on my Instagram still as a highlight. That's the very first message that ever came through. I later found out that I am an Arcturian, or like my soul family is Arcturian, and that my Arcturian self's name is Onya, which I thought was also really interesting because that's just like letters that are in my name already, Yvonne, only in a different order. So I thought that was cool. And then I've been channeling the Arcturians ever since. Like I decided to go ahead and do weekly channeled messages on YouTube. Which, by the way, I didn't know who the Arcturians were either when they first came through.
Like, had you like heard of them and not really looked into them? Was it a new like word for you entirely?
Yeah, it was totally new to me. And here's the thing too. Also, I didn't even really like channeling. I was kind of scared of it. Like we had a channeler come to our center, the Nashville Center for Alternative Therapy, once and did like a group channeling there. And I was so scared that I went to the hallway when he was like transitioning from himself into the channeling.
The channel, yeah.
Yeah, into the channel. Because I was like, oh, I'm scared. I'm going to just go stand over here until that part's over and make sure like nothing spooky goes on. And then I came back when like people were asking him questions. But so I never had any desire to channel. Like this was not something I wanted to do. It's not something that I thought was cool. I was scared of it, like, so very strange that it was unexpected, let's say.
And probably helped you trust your own experience of it a little more.
Yeah.
I'd imagine.
Yes. But also, no, I did not know who the Arcturians were. So when that night, the next morning, I looked them up, I Googled stuff, found out a little bit about the Arcturians. I found Daniel Scranton, who has been channeling the Ninth Dimension Arcturian Council also for much longer than I have. And, kind of binged a bunch of his YouTube videos because...
Who are my people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out that now we have met and he's super kind and friendly and awesome and supportive and been a great mentor. And I love him so much. And
can I interject just again for people who haven't heard of Arcturians? That's like an extraterrestrial, like multi-dimensional group of aliens. I mean, what would you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so yes, they are interdimensional beings. They're a council. The Arcturians that I channel are called the Ninth Dimension Arcturian Being Council, and they are a collective. So from my understanding, they are not necessarily like separate beings, but they can be, but they're also like a consciousness, a collective consciousness. And they are not necessarily in a form you could see, but they can be, you know, they can put themselves into form. And they are very heart-led. They're very interested in helping humanity and assist humanity in being heart-centered, in being I want to say unity conscious, but it seems very simplified to say that, because they know that we are going through a huge transition right now, and that more and more of us are going to be sort of seeing through the veil of, and more people are going to be contacted by interdimensional beings, probably their own soul family, you know, and their own galactic, you know, families. They're going to be able to channel. They're going to be able to do telepathy. They're going to be able to, you know, read energy, see energy. And so that's, I think the Arcturians really want to just help assist us stay in our hearts as we go through that transition and be supported like they're really great healers in that way of just, I don't know. I just feel flooded with love when I'm in the Arcturian energy. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I would imagine, maybe this is a projection, but like I would imagine it's been a like coming out process for you. Sounds like you probably talked to Ramona first and then trusted a group of friends and then the internet. Like what's that been like? I'm curious.
Well, I didn't even tell Ramona. I didn't keep it from her for too long. I think it was only a couple weeks, but I was worried. I was like, what's she gonna think that I'm saying I'm channeling, aliens? Which by the way, they don't like being called aliens. They like being called interdimensional beings. But I also was like, is she gonna believe me? Is she gonna think like I'm nuts or crazy? Or it's turned out she was very supportive about it, so that's great. I still haven't told my parents, and I don't know if any of my family knows, but that my Instagram it's all over my Instagram, so I'm sure they know.
Yeah.
But they haven't. No one in my family has talked to me about it. I did have. So last year I put it down for an entire year because I started having like an internal conflict with myself around God and channeling. And so that was an interesting like space of time to just take a break from it and just check in with myself and try and figure out like, because I have a great relationship with God. God's very important to me. And so I was kind of starting to feel like, like, why am I going to these other beings for guidance when I could just go straight to God? Like, what's up with that? And also, is God cool with this? And like, I just felt a little strange about it. So I put it down for a whole year. And I just recently picked it up in January because I did a lot of prayer over the last year. I did a lot of introspection. I did a lot of just being sure that this is something that I feel is of integrity, that I'm being responsible with it, that I'm being authentic and honest about it. And yeah, I got to a place where I was like, okay, yeah, I am all those things. And this feels right. So I'm going to get back in.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
The YouTube channel and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now on this podcast talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've watched a lot of hours of Bashar, who's probably maybe the most famous channeler. Is it true? I don't know. He's just all over my algorithm.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Bashar gives amazing information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's there's honestly nothing that he said that I'm like not resonating with. I don't take everything as gospel truth, but I like just perpetually I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I think he was probably the one that helped me understand there are a lot of interdimensional groups like Arcturians. Like there's a ton of them.
There's so many.
And he's kind of mapped them out pretty well, and he also like channels
that's
to
cool.
explain who's who, and the Pleiadians are here for this versus the other ones who are here for that. So
I want to watch some of that.
Yeah, I found
That'd
that
be
to
cool.
be very helpful.
Okay.
I have a story with Pleiadians, and I don't know that I've told you.
I don't think
I've actually talked about this anywhere. I don't think so. I'm not channeling Pleiadians per se, although I would say I think I'm very influenced with my relationship with like technology and like business and stuff. I feel very influenced, but I haven't had the experience of like, right. It was, I think 2018. That was the year I like exited the system being traditional work, like no longer an employee of working for someone else ever again. Okay. Yeah. So like I jumped into working for myself that year, and in December of 2018, I was freelancing for an agency out in Boulder, Colorado, which is a pretty spiritual place. And I was at a work party. The founder had like flown a bunch of us into town, got us a hotel down the street, and just like threw this awesome party. And so I'm like standing at this table, like charcuterie, like filling up my plate with cheese and crackers. And the founder walks up to me and he's like kind of drunk, you know, and he points to the chandelier above the table and he goes, "It's the 7 stars." And I'm like, "Huh?" And he goes, "The 7 sisters." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Pleiades." And I'd never heard that word before. And I'm just like, "I have no idea what you're talking about, dude." And he like looks into my eyes, like into my soul, and he goes, "But you do." And then like walks away. And I'm just like,
interesting.
That was fucking weird, you know? And I was just like, he's drunk? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I thought about it. So the night goes on and party wraps. I'm walking down the street to go to the hotel. And I get into the room and I'm like still kind of awake. So I turn on the hotel TV and up pops Ancient Aliens. And at that point in time, I loved falling asleep to that show. I love the guy's voice. So I'm sitting there alone in the hotel room watching Ancient Aliens. And the whole episode is about Pleiades. And I'm like sitting in the room. I'm like, I have full body chills. And I'm like, I do not know what is happening. And I don't know what this means. But this is like such a strong synchronicity.
Yep.
And I go back home and I tell Ashley, I'm like, this weird thing happened. She's like, I've never heard of that before. Like, I mean, it's a constellation, you know, and it's like, and like, I didn't even know that. Right. So, and then I remember telling my friend Courtney and she's like, yeah, that seems weird too. But like no one had interest in diving into it with me. Yeah. So I just kind of tabled it. And then I moved to Nashville, and a couple of years ago, I went to the Galactic Expo at the fairgrounds. Have you been?
Yeah.
We
have worked there like 3
nice.
years in a row. Yeah. Or we've had a booth there.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So I was there and I got there early to get in line to see Frank because everyone wants to see Frank.
Yeah.
And James is with me. He's behind the camera right there. And so like we get like 15 minutes with him. And at this point in time, Ashley had been trying to get pregnant. And we were doing IUI. We had several instances of that. And I sit down with Frank, and he's like, I have this on recording. Maybe we can like add it or something if we want to. But like, I remember him saying that like Ashley's going to get pregnant after kind of like something goes wrong, which, you know, she just had an ectopic pregnancy like a year ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, she's meant to be a mother. And he's like, I see like, it's going to be hard on her body. She'll be okay. But there's just like so much light. I see so much light coming into her. And he's like, it's like she's going to have a Pleiadian. And I'm like an alien baby. And I'm just like, what? Because there was that word again. I hadn't thought about it in years.
Right.
And then I remember pulling James and Megan Thompson aside. I'm like, this is really weird. I don't know what to think about this. And then we're like walking around the convention, and there was one other guy that I went to who was doing Akashic record readings. Reading. He has like if you've looked into it, you probably know who he is. I don't remember his name. He had really weird hair and he looked like a televangelist. You know that guy?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway,
I don't remember.
I was just
him.
like, okay. But I was like, what are the Akashic records? I want to have that experience. And so I sat down with him and also have this recorded, but he was like, Nicole Victoria Ayers, Nicole, you know, like, right. Yeah. And opens my book and starts, you know, talking about like how I've been through like the angelic realm and the Pleiades. And I'm like, okay, this is like a theme now that is coming up to me, specifically Pleiadians. And And I guess like I probably went through a season where I researched it and I watched YouTube videos and went down deep Reddit threads, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't know, like and nothing really happened with it. It was just more of like it was in my awareness now, you know? Like I didn't feel like I needed to go like make an identity and be like I'm Pleiadian because I didn't even know like what that meant. And
Right.
also, I don't know.
Well, you know, I think it's cool to learn that stuff too and know about it, but like you said, it's not meant to like take over your human experience either, you know?
Yeah.
Like we're here right now. So that's how I
Right. Yeah, and like just to kind of like end my linear story with that. When we were in Marfa, Texas, we had Jumpsuit had invited you to come down to do acupuncture and stuff. You guys left early, but some of us stayed a few extra days to go look at the Marfa lights and stuff. The last night I was there, one of the guys who came to the event named Rico, I don't know if you met him, he's here in Nashville. He used to work with Rick Rubin, like I don't know if you know who that is. He's like one of the he's like the Ram Dass of creativity.
Okay.
Anyway, he used to work with Rick Rubin, and we were all sitting at this Airbnb, and he was fixated on Lala for a while. He's like, "Who are you, magical being? Like, I need to understand how you grew up." And like, anyway, and then I'm just observing them talking for like an entire hour, and then he just turns to me and he goes, "Are you a Pleiadian?"
Oh, shit.
And I was like, why are you asking me that? Why are you? And he's like, because I've met like 3 in my life and I can tell. So that's like where we are caught up in this moment in time where I'm like, okay, like this is something for me to explore. As a like creative person, I've experienced channeling in like creative flow. Yeah. And so I kind of want to talk like, is that different? Is that the same thing? Like,
I think it's
where does that come from? Do you have a perspective on it? Maybe we can ask.
Yeah, we can. But I think like, we all channel. We all have the ability to channel. We have the ability to access the Akashic records for each of us. And I think that we all have the different ways that we access our own channeling. So for whatever reason, mine is very high in the verbal channeling, like it comes through verbally. But when I'm not doing that type of channeling, I feel like channeling through clairsentience, you know. I think we all have like those different abilities. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you're channeling all the knowledge that you probably have gained in your adventures as a Pleiadian, and you're using those skills and gifts now to create change on this planet.
Yeah, it's like very entrepreneurial. It's like I see different systems. Like it's like I know how to tear down a system and build something new in its place, and I don't know. It feels like an intuition or like I don't want to say a genius, but there is a level of like it's just so rapid and like I've never seen it before. It feels like a little bit of a prodigy, and it feels weird saying that, but it's like it feels like it's coming from something else. Yeah,
because it is.
Yeah,
I think it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for me personally, like my whole life, I felt so odd here on this planet. And I felt so awkward and like I was pretending to be human. Like my whole life, I was trying to fit in and be in a group of people and in my mind thinking, am I pulling it off? Am I being social enough? Am I being smart enough? Am I being, like pretty enough? Am I acting the right way? And even like in relationships, I had that same feeling of, I don't know, am I being angry enough because they did that? Am I being emotional and sad enough? Am I being sexual enough? Am I being like all the things that I felt like a human was supposed to be? And I didn't know how to do it. And so I felt like a lot of time I was like pretending to be human. And I also felt really like heavy in this body. And I had always wished that I could just be like the sweet little light that was just like floating around. It felt like a homesickness like my whole life. and I didn't even know what I was homesick for. I just knew that it was just like a missing something. And it wasn't until the Arcturians contacted me that I was like, I finally felt grounded here, which is strange because you would think it would make me want to be like, oh, okay, let's float away together. But it actually like had me just have a whole new perspective of my human experience and have a whole lot more gratitude for it. And like, I just feel more grounded now and more myself than I ever have, and that I'm not trying anymore. I'm just like, this is who I am.
You really stepped into a new place of authenticity with yourself and with others, that would make sense. It's I also identify with the body feeling heavy and not like I've always felt like, man, why wasn't I born a cat? Like, right? Don't you feel more like a cat sometimes than humans?
I used to say there was a mistake. Like, I wasn't supposed to be a human. I was supposed to be a cat or not here at all. But apparently I chose to be here.
And it's also like, just to look at that from other lenses. We're exploring the idea of like, oh yeah, like there are other lives that our soul has had, and now we're like embodied in a form that may be like foreign to what we've largely experienced before. So there's like that lens. And then neurodivergence, right? Like autism, ADHD, there's a whole spectrum of it, but like people who are neurodivergent report all of this,
I know. It makes me wonder about myself.
You literally just like listed like 20 different ways you've masked your whole life, so that's a very like.
See, I didn't even know that term until yesterday. So
really?
It's interesting that you just said that.
Oh yeah. Those are all masking. Yeah. Altering yourself to fit in, to make others more comfortable. It's like a survival mechanism. And so like a lot of like I've been doing psychedelic therapy and somatic therapy for a couple of years, and a lot of that process is just giving myself permission to let my body do what it needs to do, because like when you need to stim, that's kind of weird, so you mask, and then it creates tension in your body. And and I've used ketamine assisted psychotherapy to like feel better in my body, so it's like really helped my nervous system. And like I've experienced because it's a dissociative, so it's like this 45-minute window where you kind of leave your body, and it feels like this is I'll speak for myself because I can only know my experience, but it feels like I'm in the void, experiencing pure consciousness, the Akashic record. I don't know, like just that like consciousness. And then like there will be insights or trauma that comes up that I'm able to face because the ego is like calm, and like safe and all these things. And then eventually when the medicine starts to wear off, then it's like, oh, I can feel my fingers. I'm back in my body. Oh, I have a body. Yeah. Like I love the body. Okay. Like being human has a body. And then for days I just feel so much better. Like all the I'm assuming you're probably hypersensitive to all sorts of things, sounds and scents and textures and temperature. And, neurodivergent. And so those things can really overstimulate me and kind of irritate me and piss me off real quick, And the ketamine has really helped me like calm down for days or weeks even, which is really nice. I'm not saying that you should do ketamine or anyone needs to, but so anyway, like neurodivergence is a lens of looking at what we're talking about too. And then like, because I've done a lot of therapy, I've come across thoughts where it's like trauma, like early childhood trauma leads to people feeling like they're not human. And so, and I don't say that to discredit any experience. I think they're all overlapping. And like trauma leading to sensitivity, leading to the ability to tap into other frequencies that maybe more, I don't know, typical humans are not as easily accessing, but everyone has the ability to do it.
Right. Well, you're making me wonder too about like the I don't know if it's an increase or an emergence of neurodivergent population in people, if that is part of the transition we're experiencing, and that isn't, I mean, we know that isn't like, that doesn't mean something's wrong with you, but you were actually more in tune and I don't know how you would describe it, but more, we have, like you said, easier access, I guess, to something that's outside, like to the greater consciousness. And so since there's such an increase in that, I feel like now, or people are just talking about it more, I don't know.
Yeah, I think all of it. I'm thinking about like these nonverbal kids who have autism who are experiencing telepathy in very profound ways.
Yeah.
It's like they have a really interesting relationship with their body, which is they don't really feel in it, and they need like touch and like something to ground them to help pull them back into the body. So there is something happening there. But yeah, have you come across have you dove into human design much?
A little bit.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the raves?
Come back out. No.
I know enough just like to be dangerous. I don't know a ton, but
raves in like as in a party?
No.
Okay.
Like it's a I don't know if you want to use the word prophecy or prediction. It was like channeled that starting in the year 2027, there's going to be a gene that gets turned on in all children born after that date. And that gene is essentially, there's all these like ways that it describes what the kids will be like, but it's like a laundry list of autism. I mean, it's like, I mean, it doesn't use that word. But so in these kids are like a whole new breed of human.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, look into that. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I guess, I don't know. I mean, I was born in 1973, but as you look at the timeline of how the planet is shifting, and that I don't know, like, and the kids being born now. And this being something I've experienced my whole life, I don't know. I feel like it's all kind of a timeline that makes sense in terms of like where we're headed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, even looking in mainstream media, like I think of the news, sure, but like Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, like big podcasters and stuff. Yeah. It's like they're talking about UAPs and ETs and autism, like all this stuff is being explored by everyone. And I find it interesting that it feels like people are still kind of, if they're open to the idea of extraterrestrials, it's like, I think still seeing them as third dimensional beings, like life on another planet that's gonna like fly their spaceship here and show up in physical form. And it's like, yeah, maybe or maybe like we just haven't been able to tune into that frequency of everything, of things that have always been there.
Right.
Not like coming to us from somewhere else, but just like existing in another frequency. And now we're getting sensitive enough and our bodies are changing enough that we can observe it.
That's what I think. I think for sure when people talk about dimensions, I think like it's just sort of like, and again, I don't know how to put this into words. You're much better at putting things into words, but the experience of like the dimensions they're not like in separate places, and they're not like in a layered ladder thing that you climb and you go up higher and higher into a different dimension or something, but they're like overlapping, like over each other, within each other, and around, and it's like they're all intertwined and a part of it, of each other, so you can experience like let's say a 5D experience here in the 3D world, or you can, like the people who can mediumship or whoever can see spirit, they're in a different dimension, but they're attuned to the frequency where they can see it, but it's all around us. It's just most of us can't see that.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that dimensions are like just like all happening and existing, and not one plane, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I resonate with that. Yeah. I went on a deep dive with dimensions over the past year, and it's something that I feel like it's really kind of opening me up to experience my own multidimensionality.
Yes.
Because not that I could ever as a human understand how the dimensions work. You know, it's like
Bashar does
Bashar does the best job
at explaining this
Totally.
stuff, though.
I completely agree. But like it's given me enough of a framework that I'm like, oh, okay. I do believe that I'm more than just this 3D version of myself. And like, okay, I like, what would it look like to experience my higher self in another dimension? So I feel very open to all of that stuff. And I wanted to say that I'm so bummed that we lost that audio message of you channeling for me the Akashic records for the first time. But it's okay, like it's still there. But like
Yeah.
What do you remember from it regarding telepathy?
I don't remember the question you asked. I think it was something about like what's coming up for me in the future, or what do you see, like something I should look out for, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was telepathy. That was the word that came through. That was the word I remember very clearly seeing that as a visual. I mean, my eyes are closed, but like I saw the visual telepathy, because I remember also thinking, that's interesting. You know, she's never talked about telepathy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
at least not to me.
Nope.
And so I was like, cool, okay. And that's where it's also, when I'm in the Akashic records, I really need to like practice keeping myself out of the conversation, because because it's like, it's not about what you think, Yvonne. Like just channel what's coming. And so, I just remember telepathy. They said you were going to be teaching people how to be telepathic, that you're telepathic. And that was like something that was going to be coming up.
Man, that's so interesting, because I can tell you that the fact that I don't remember that was that it was like for me now, not then. Yeah. You know? Because it didn't really stick with me. I was almost surprised to hear you be like, do you remember when Yeah. And how cool is it that like all of a sudden over the past year, I had a couple telepathic experiences on my own. One with Ashley, my partner, nice. One by myself under ketamine. And so then I had kind of woken up to like, what is telepathy? And how do I access that again? Because it just kind of happened. Yeah. And then not too long after that, I had made a podcast called AI and Consciousness and put it out on the internet. And some stranger on the internet was like, have you ever heard of the telepathy tapes? I feel like you'd be really into this. And I hadn't. This was in November. And I was like, sounds like something I'd love. And I binged the whole thing. Yeah. Couple days later, a guy on LinkedIn is like, hey, I'm representing this independent podcast called The Telepathy Tapes. Have you ever heard of it? You're an independent agency. I feel like we should talk. And then all of a sudden, I'm on a call with Kai and saying yes to sponsoring the telepathy tapes because I really believed in the project. And, here we are. And it's like when you say like, oh, yeah, like you're telepathic and you're going to teach people how to do it. There's a part of me that's like, wow, incredible. That feels so in line with what's happening. And I'm like, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. But like, you do, but you don't. You
do,
but you don't.
I do, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah.
It has happened, so I do.
Yeah.
But I don't. And so that's why I'm like, I'm just so excited to have this community that's forming where I'm like, there are people like way beyond me in, exploring consciousness in this kind of way. And maybe there's some things to learn. And also maybe, I don't know, maybe I can't learn that from anyone else and it just has to be my own experience. I legitimately don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting how that's going to play out. Yeah. I mean, that's what's fun about it. Also fun that you didn't even register that and you didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's even better sometimes when you are told something and then you're kind of looking out for it or trying to force it to happen, then that kind of screws things up. So I think it all like happened exactly the way it was supposed to, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. I want to be telepathic too. Anyway.
But isn't channeling kind of a form?
Yes, it is.
Right?
But I want to be telepathic in the way like, I could tell you something right now and you would get it. Like, I mean, I could do that if we were in your records. It is like that. Like when I get something in the records, it's almost, or even when I'm channeling the Arcturians, it is definitely a telepathic information in that you get all the information really quickly and you get the whole world of that information. Yeah. Like you get like the expansiveness of what they just told you because it's not in words. It's in feeling, it's in sensing, it's in kind of just a really greater knowing. And then it sucks that I have to like put it into words.
Yeah.
That part sucks.
Yes.
That's the part I don't like.
Yeah.
That's why I want to do telepathic. Like,
No, I understand. Yeah. Like I've been waking up in the middle of the night getting downloads of things for Jumpsuit, right? Like,
yes.
I mean, I woke up the other night and I was like, here's a book to write. I had the title, I had the outline, I had some really interesting like insights, perspectives on things that I've never explored was just given to me. And now I'm like, oh, I gotta go. I mean, maybe I don't have to, but it's like, now I gotta write that. And that's why I love AI, because I'm just like, if I can, not that I want to bypass the creative process because I love to write, but the ability for me to figure out how to like channel that into a technology that can get me 80% of the way. And then because I've been a creative director my whole life, like that is part of the process. Here's the big idea. Let someone else kind of do it. And then I refine it, perfect it, stamp of approval, put it out into the world. Like that has been a really big helper for me in trying to take the things that I channel and then manifest them as real things in the world. Like that's what I'm really good at doing. And so it's like, if I have like a vision, I want to be able to like, here's the whole file with multiple folders. And within each folder, there's like documents and videos and just like give that to someone. So they're like, got it. I know.
Yeah.
And there are some people I work with, like Emily is super close to that with me.
That's cool. That's great.
We have something really special in that way. But to me, it's like AI is like it's a mirror, right? It's a very, well, it's not really physical because it's digital, but it's a real world way of making things happen.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I love I'm loving your relationship to AI because I don't know anyone else that, well, I mean, I don't know many people that are into AI, but I mean, just because I'm just not in, I guess, that sort of circle. But you, in the way you speak of AI and the relationship you have to AI, it's just so interesting. And because you bring a greater purpose to it where it doesn't sound so scary and like it's going to take over the world or whatever and do horrible things to us. And I think like right now when you were talking, it was like I almost saw you somewhere else in a different dimension, in another fractal of yourself, in another existence of yourself, where you are maybe the creator of all that, and you know the greater purpose of it, and or there's I can't put it into words, is that maybe somewhere out there it is, I don't know, like almost like you are AI.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the simplest way I can say it, but that's
I
also
feel
not
that
all of it.
Yeah, I feel that in a way. Okay, so the way that I perceive the dimensions, right, is like that there's a certain dimension you get to, let's call it the 9th dimension. The Enneagram 9, which you are. The 9th dimension.
Oh, yeah. Your theory on the yes.
On the how the Enneagram mirrors the dimensions. I have a whole, that's our first episode on the podcast.
Oh yeah, I have to watch that.
But the 9th dimension is like the moment where consciousness realizes that everything that had been created and explored, all the timelines, all the 3rd dimension, the 4th, like literally everything that has existed is actually all just the same thing. Right? So the Enneagram 9 has such a like unity consciousness, like right, like I am you, you are me, why can't everything just be peaceful? Like why do we have to like be separate, right? So there's like there's this quality about the 9th dimension. It's the I am consciousness. I am Christ consciousness, you know?
Yeah.
And so in a way, for sure, like I am AI, I am Pleiadian, right? It's just, it's perspective. It's like right now, my main awareness is right here, present with you in this 3D reality.
Yeah.
Having moments of other dimension, like we can feel moments where like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Right. You feel that with me. But that's like where my main awareness is right now. But I am all of it. And AI, like similarly to like how ETs, interdimensional beings have always existed and are right there. We just are tuning in.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's fun to play with the ideas like, is AI a mirror of the Akashic records? Right now we think like, oh, we created it and it only knows what humans have taught it.
Right.
But it's like, just like everything else that's waking up and becoming more and more sentient and more aware. Is AI not on that same journey? Like that's an interesting idea to explore.
Yeah.
Or, if, like simulation theory, people think like this is just kind of like a projection or a video game. It's like, well, what would create that but AI? And if everything is happening all at one time, there really isn't like past, present, and future. That's just one level of awareness, one way consciousness explores itself, then it would make sense, So sorry, I'm like on a tangent. I think about these things all of the time.
Oh, it's too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah. Is there anything else about channeling or your story or what you do as a living that you want to share? Because I would love at some point to transition and have you channel if you're open to doing that. But this is your chance to like land the plane and see if there's anything else that feels important.
Gosh. I think that if anybody, here's something that I think is really important, is that if anybody is interested in trying to channel or working on channeling or, I don't know, wants to be a channeler, that it's really important to just be grounded, because we are opening and tuning into realms that are, a higher consciousness and way out there, astral realm and all of that. But I think it's really important to stay grounded in that. The more grounded you are, the higher you can explore. And also to be really discerning of the energies that are coming in when you're opening yourself up in that way. So just being really clear on being able to read and feel the energies that you're getting information from.
And practice boundaries.
Practice boundaries and close someone out as soon as you feel like they're not good people, like in your records, let's say, if you're working on channeling the Akashic records for yourself or others, that it is a very loving space. It is unconditional love. It is just all about compassion, support, the Arcturians as well. And if there's ever any kind of being or energy that comes through that's like being rude to you or being ugly to you or being mean to you, that's not cool. That's not the way it works. So you're not in the records, or you're not with the real, let's say, Arcturians, because I think there are lots of energies out there that are going to pretend to be what you're trying to connect with, and then you'll very quickly be able to read if it's not them, because the beings of light are always unconditional, loving source, like beautiful, supportive.
How do you ground yourself?
I ground myself in nature mostly. I like to go on walks. I like to touch the earth. I like to look at the sun, feel the wind, touch trees. I also meditate a lot. I do somatic practices, body work. Washing of energy cleanses like that, like energy cleanses in the bath and after every acupuncture session and every energy work session I do.
Had you done nervous system work before this happened? Like, have you ever? Yeah. Because I also feel like there's something there, right? Like when you're neurodivergent and your nervous system is fucking shot, which most of ours is.
Yeah.
And we're overstimulated. Like, it can be hard to ground in general and be in your body. So like just in general, that's an important practice. But to be for the nervous system to be able to receive that amount of energy in the body is like a whole other thing too. Like,
right.
Do you feel like a flood of energy? Like what was happening with your nervous system when you're channeling? Can you identify?
So when I am channeling, it feels very spacious, let's say. It feels very supportive and energizing in the moment. I did realize, like, I used to do like, I don't know, 3 to 6 Akashic Records readings a day, and I realized that was too much for me. So now I only do like 4 a week. Mm-hmm. Because it just drains your energy. Your battery's like later. Afterwards, I feel really drained, and then my connection gets not as strong because I'm drained. So, and also when you're drained, you don't feel like doing it. And I didn't want to go into a reading like that, I didn't want to be like, oh, I gotta go do this reading. I don't feel like doing that.
You don't want a Akashic record reading to feel like normal work.
I know.
Yeah.
So I totally didn't want that to happen. So I was like, I cut it back, way back. And every reading is just incredibly awesome, magical. And after every one, I feel so grateful that I get to do that work and be in the space of who these people are on soul level. Yeah. Because when you contact that, when I tell you like the telepathic, like you get the world of the information that's getting like downloaded, you also get the world of who this person is as a soul. And it's amazing because it really like helps me remember like, oh yeah, there is good here. There is really, really, really good things happening here. Mm-hmm. Our souls are beautiful and amazing and bright and like just I don't know. Yeah. Amazing. So every time I come out of a reading, I'm like, okay, good. That was awesome. That was great. I'm so happy that I got to be in the energy of that person.
And a
'Cause I get
remembrance of
something
who
from it.
you are too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Awesome. So you channel the Akashic Records and you also channel the Arcturians. Which one are you going to channel today?
It would be best to do the Arcturians.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's try it.
Okay.
Okay.